Alright, so I've been working on this piece. It's looking pretty good. Of course it was painted satin black, so it had, like, you know, wrinkles and low spots in here, and you couldn't really see it because it was black. I stripped a lot of it, filled in a couple of more holes, and did a little bit of body work. Body work isn't my thing, so what a good body guy could probably do in one step, I have to do about 3 steps, which means I gotta fix that right there. I didn't notice that. So again, this is something just gonna take me longer, but I just want it to look a little bit better. I don't want them to put a paint on there if it's showing problems. I didn't get enough primer on there, so I'll flatten this out again, let it dry, see where basically where my boo-boos are, go over them again and show you this. And then once this is where we're happy with it, we'll take it outside and pressure wash that. It doesn't have any grease as such, but of course it's a good way to get all this dirt out and get a good key for the body guys to go in there. They're gonna sand a lot of this and scuff it and look it over before they paint it. Fenders, of course, are gonna come off. They're just held on with 2 bolts right now. But this, again, I'm not trying to make it perfect. So I know you're gonna criticize saying that I should fill all those holes and make it look like a, you know, like a dining room table. That is not the idea. They had a low spot here, so it filled a couple of holes and just kind of left it and painted it. So all I did was fill in the lows. You can see a little bit there. So pulling these door panels off, George noticed that this is actually broken here. The vinyl is still in good shape, but it's like a fiberglass under here. You see it's actually broken right there. Again, this is part of what you deal with when you're taking apart an old car. It's like restoring a project. So this is like a plastic fiberglass. I'm gonna see if we can epoxy this under here, maybe put a brace just to support it so it'll keep that shape. Either fiberglass or epoxy, and then maybe lay a little bit of aluminum in there to support it, but that's just part of what you deal with, right? Alright, so once I started sanding on here, I started finding more low spots. And again, I don't do this, so it's taken me several stages where a good body guy could probably do it in 1 or 2. You know, you find your low spot, you fill it, you let it dry, you sand it. You know, then I'm like, okay, now I've got 2 low spots, so I fill the 2 low spots, sand it. Now I go to 3 low spots and a high spot. So covered up that hole. I think when it dries, what I did last time is push that hole through with a screwdriver and then sand it and then kind of chamfer that hole. But that had a little pit in there, and then there was a couple of high spots on here. So again, I'm not trying to get too obsessed with it, but you know, when you stand here, I want it to look fairly smooth, and you know, before it was beat up, it didn't look like it. But once you strip it, you realize how bad it is. And this, I'm going to continue sanding all of this because I want this to get painted so everything looks, you know, nice and uniform. But this was all put on pretty good. Everything looks good. They did it the way they should have done, which is basically you just take the top. What we do typically is when we did the GM front ends is we would actually clip it here. That way all these holes you have reference and you can put everything back just the way it came. And of course you weld the hood support back down here. You leave this is all the Integra. You don't change any of this. People do, but it's not a good idea. This is just sheet metal. Do this. There's no support in here per se. So what we would do is cut it here in both spots and then actually overlap it about 1/2 inch and then weld it on both sides and then sand it, smooth it, and it looks pretty finished. And again, you're not getting into the main structure of the car. So we had a car not too long ago, somebody cut this whole front off, just did the spot welds and put a new front end on, and then someone tried to jack up the car by this support and this whole front came up and damaged everything because they didn't attach it to the car correctly. So somebody did a decent job on this. So this has all been repainted. This looks like factory paint because as I started sanding it, you can see the primer underneath as opposed to white paint, which is what we saw up here. So while my Bondo is curing, or body fill or whatever you guys call it, I want to start sanding on this bottom and just make it look reasonable. Again, it's all pretty good paint, so it needs a good sand and put some good primer on, and then get another good look and see how far it is from a top coat. You're not getting too deep in here that we can't put it back together, are you?
Still putting it back together?
What the heck is that black thing do?
That's an antenna.
Oh.
Never messed with the radio last, but this antenna in here, I stuck it to the windshield.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it wasn't there, but it doesn't matter where it is anymore because the windshield's coming out.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, you're taking stuff out I've never even seen before.
Yeah.
I've worked on Integras, but I've never seen that black box on the end of a wire. Wow. Well, you got all kinds of stuff out of here. Gauge clusters out. Put some odometer gauges in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Interior's out. I guess I won't film throwing it in the garbage this time, right? People get really upset about that.
I already did, so don't.
You did? So
yeah.
we didn't film it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got a lot of hate for that. Even though people didn't realize I did actually repurpose it and give it to a Civic owner, the video thrown in the garbage got a lot more people watching the video. Hashtag clickbait.
That's what they say it's going to do.
Yeah, and that dot is...
Yeah, that's where we're at.
George and I.
And right now, this is where it's at.
So it's not far off the coast, is it?
No.
Yeah, we need to hurry up. Otherwise the rain is going to wash it for us. Should just go straight back, right? Tease it and make it drag on forever. We're going to use this motor. We're going to take it apart and basically go through it. We're going to make some changes. I'm not going to give you all the details right now because of course we won't even tune into the next episode. But we're going to take it apart. The block, I think we're going to prep the block and do something with it just to give it a little bit more strength for future builds. And the head, again, take the head apart, go through the head, put new valve stem seals in it, check it, make sure the seats are good, make sure the guides are good. Basically, take it apart and refresh it and change the bottom end with something a little special. What's in it?
ZFR5?
Oh yeah, that's not good.
No.
There should have been 7s in here.
Yeah.
For 11 to 1. You might get away with a 6, but definitely not a 5. How's it look down there? It's not oily, is it?
No, nothing on the plugs.
We'll have to take a look when we take it apart. Just in time, you hear that? There you go. That's where we are right now. We're in the yellow. That red stuff is about to come. Got the core support kind of how I want it. We'll try and fix this. The control arms did this. This one isn't too bad. This one is pushed around the bolt. I'm going to take it down to bare metal and fill that. Same up this side. I'll go ahead and take care of that because once it's painted, that's going to stand out and obviously I want it to go away. Alright, so looking how this is dimpled, it's actually cracked the metal. So I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll get the paint out of there and here actually weld those up so it's not full of mud. That way it'll make it a little bit stronger and there's less chance of it cracking and then causing the mud to crack and then obviously the paint. I think same on the other side, so let's drag the welder over and give it a weld.
Maybe you look at it a little bit, so just take the weight off the pellet. Not much, though.
Good. And just leave this one hanging? Yeah. And help with the treads?
Let's pump that up one more.
There you go. Just looks like an oil input. It does. I'm gonna go ahead and use our Miller MIG. We don't use this a whole lot because most of what we do we TIG weld, but this is a perfect machine for this kind of work. You kind of just point it out of the hole, give it a squeeze, and see how it looks. It's pretty idiot proof, honestly. Do you want me to get it swinging while you try and get it?
It swings as soon as I'm done.
Yeah. I'll get a nice steady swing going and you'll just try and work with it, get the bolts out. So for the next 2 hours and 58 minutes, I'm going to show you step by step taking the motor apart. Alright, get the lift out for that flywheel. That one's going to be a heavy one. It just shows that you don't need all the bolts.
Yeah, exactly, you don't need any of them.
Just one at each side would have probably done it. Yeah, use that. Give it a knock. Look at that. Perfect tool. Is it in good shape?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we'll do a resurface on that. Bearing's a little bumpy. Put a bearing in there. Alright, let's get a hold of our favorite clutch company and say, hey, we're building a car. Do you have a clutch for it? Looks like you have a slight main seal leak right there.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Little damper on there. Alright, so this is what it looks like. It's kind of like Bondo, but metal. Oh. So I filled those. It might be a little bit low right there, which I can almost feel it. It's good there, it's low there, so it needs a little right there. Same with here. Again, try not to get too obsessed with this thing because you could, before you know it, fill this and fill that and fill this, and then yeah, you spend the rest of your life doing the engine bay. So let me go ahead and add a little bit more to these two and go ahead and sand it and see how it looks. It all looks clean in there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like about these cams. These are the tuner 2s. Can't quite see the part number there. You had these motors, these cams in your motor, didn't you?
Yeah.
What kind of mileage did you put on your motor with these cams? You remember?
30,000.
30,000?
Yeah.
And it was a daily driver, which is what is nice about these. They're a very smooth cam, very easy drivable cam. They're not too lumpy. They got a little bit of a valve train noise, not too bad, but they're a little bit quieter than the Pros. The ports all look clean. How's that timing belt look?
Nothing wrong with it. We stopped it where it's got the slack in the top.
Yeah.
It looks funny.
Yeah. The golden eagle cam gears. We'll have to check all this, but I'm pretty sure all this was new.
It's got the spring type LMAs in it too.
Yeah, the S2000 style.
Yeah.
I think all this was new. We'll check it and we'll take it apart. This is something you never want to go cheap on. If it's a belt that you don't know the age of, go ahead and replace it. And of course, I'd always recommend you do the water pump at the same time and tensioner. But of course, it's an interference motor, so if this belt breaks, the valves hit the pistons, and then it gets a lot more expensive than just replacing a belt. But yeah, I don't think the head needs too much, but we'll see what it looks like when we pull it apart. Everything's dry. All the exhaust ports are dry.
weekend. Look up the tutorial first though, because it's not just like get ready to go to town.
Oh, gasket stuck.
Stuck in the end.
Yeah, usually the gasket sits like this, and it gets jammed on the dowel and jammed on the dowel on the head, and you can't get the head off. Looks pretty clean though.
Yeah, still looks good.
Let's take a look. What are the PR3s?
Yeah.
PR3, so what's that, Del Sol?
B16, yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Can we turn the motor, see how
Find the crank bolt.
See how high they come out the block. I can't quite turn it. It's too sharp down there. It looks good though. Pistons are nice and clean. It's burning well. The cylinders look like they're in good shape. There we go. Yeah, super light. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're not too bad. So the block hasn't been decked. You can see the outside of the piston there. How it's actually below the deck surface. You point that out, George. I've got a light in my other hand. So, are these standard?
Yeah.
Alright, perfect. So we have a little bit of room to go over size. So if we need to bore this or change pistons, we have room, because you don't want to just slap pistons in there and hope for the best, because if the cylinders are worn unevenly, actually not too bad. See a little bit of polishing on that cylinder, but you still see the crosshatch. Very good. Yeah, again, it's kind of hard to say how many miles is on this, but it looks like everything's been good. It's a little damp back here. Might have been the O-ring on the separator, or just from oil changes.
Yeah, and the axle slung out a little bit over here too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because generally this motor was pretty dry, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of course we have a little bit wet there, which I think is the main seal. It's not leaking bad, but it is damp, so that's going to have to be replaced. Oh, very cool. Yeah. Alright, so you guys ready for a big reveal? George, are you ready for a big reveal?
I am.
Get the reveal stick ready.
So all the coolant will come up to here, and then it'll go into the head as well. It gets circulated, cools the engine down. It's good stuff. I mean,
yeah. All right.
Yeah,
all right. Let's get moving, because the thumbs down are coming. I can see 2 thumbs down already. So we just talked to our friends at CSS, which we all know stands for Cylinder Support System.
so this will be full.
That will be full. For all you guys that do like the B series, I do too. You guys know that if you follow me. I do like the B series, especially Integras and Civics. So we are keeping this motor. Here's the big reveal. We're going to turbocharge it. Now don't get excited. We're not going to make 1 billion horsepower. We're going to make 3 to 325, because it is a street motor, and I want it to be a true daily driver, something you can drive and enjoy and not have any issues and make it a big pain to tune. But of course we want to build the motor in the future if somebody or myself decides to turn up the wick, so to speak. So what I'm going to do is order some pistons. We're going to just measure these and verify it is 81 millimeter. It should be. Pistons say standard on there, so that should be 81 millimeter. Well, we'll order some pistons 1/2 mil over, so when we send this out to CSS, they can, basically what they're going to do, you guys go on their site and go check them out. We've used these guys before, but what they do is cut this. It's all done in CNC. This is cast, so this shape around here isn't exact. So they cut this, they cut their purpose-built shape, CNC, they cut it down, and then they machine a piece that slides in here. It's like a block guard times 100. Rather than a block guard just hammering in here and supporting the top, this supports the cylinders all the way down, and I know they've had fantastic success handling power with that. The good part is these cylinders, you don't worry about them sinking, you don't worry about them moving, because they're already in position. They're just basically making a fixture to make these cylinders rigid, and then once that's done, they will bore this to our piston, and then the piston will fit in there perfect, and then we can start assembling it. We'll check the bearings and clearances and such and start putting it together. So that's what's going on. We're going to take this motor apart, take the pistons out, take all the accessories off, all the water pump and the crossover tube, and put this in a box and send it to those guys, and hopefully I can get them to send us a couple of pictures of the progress so we can put it in the video. Okay, so the monster storm is over. We've opened up the door, and I just put a fresh coat of primer over my filled shock towers, so we'll let that cure, dry real good. I'll go ahead and hit it with some of this stuff. Little the good news is I'm not going to quit my day job and become a body shop guy, because I don't like it and I'm not very good at it. So don't worry, you won't see us doing body work every day. We're going to continue doing what we're doing, but it definitely looks better when the blue paint, when the paint goes over it. Hopefully it will look good. Nobody will know the difference.
You didn't just say the color, did you?
No, edit that out.
Okay, yeah, that
Nice.
part's still in good shape.
Yeah, that still works. How's the journals like?
Everything's good. It's all smooth.
Sweet. Alright, so we just got to take the crank out, and what else you got to take off that end?
I think about it.
That little guy sticking off there so it don't punch a hole through the box and then tear the box. So we know when we pack this, this is the official packing shipping guy right here. When you ship this, put it in a box that's way too big, fill it full of peanuts. Yeah, fill it full of peanuts, it'll travel fine.
Perfectly.
So we're gonna
Walmart, it'll work for you.
So we're gonna make almost a note about when we package this, because I've seen CSS talk about this where people ship them blocks and they're improperly packed and they get damaged. So we'll talk about how you should package this so it will make it there safe once we put it in the box, of course. Alright, so this is the aftermath of about 3 hours of rain. The sky still is grey, it's clearing up. There's almost blue sky over there. Everything is wet. That retention pond over there is completely dry. Now you can swim in. Alright, so crank just has to be taken out, then that block can go to CSS. Pistons and rods, P72 rods and PR3 pistons. So these are all in pretty good shape. Actually in really good shape. Actually, I think we should just hang on to those in case we need them for another build. I don't know how many miles are on them, but I know they don't have a whole lot. So we're going to do pistons and rods. I'm waiting to hear back from our supplier, but we're probably going to go with CP pistons. It's my favorite piston, and unlikely Eagle HB rods, which are going to be plenty for what we need. In fact, this is all overkill. We're only looking at 300 horsepower, and again, this isn't just like a tease. Hey, we're looking at 300 horsepower, then we're going to put a GT 3582 turbo on it and tease everybody. This is really just going to be a street car, so it's better to overbuild it and underuse. And there's the head. The head has Skunk 2 springs and retainers, and it has the upgraded LMAs, which they're Skunk 2s, but they're kind of like the S2000. Rather than having like a tube within a tube, which are notorious for sticking, these are just a spring with a cap, much more reliable. We're going to stick with those. We'll take it apart, look at the valves, analyze the valves. If the valves look like they need replacing, we'll replace them. If not, we'll just do a fresh valve job and a real light surface and put it back together. Alright, so I figured I'd answer a few of the questions, because some of the questions have been asked multiple times. That means there's obviously more people want to know the answers to some of those. A lot of people asking what the color is that the Integra is painted already. Well, I actually went to the body shop when I talked to him about dropping this off. It is called Carbon Gray Pearl, and it's from a 2004 TSX. So look that up, Carbon Gray Pearl. And again, it is a nice color, I'm not taking that away. It's just I've had this color on this car for so long, it's been about 10 years. And again, everyone has their own color. It would be a boring world if we all had the exact same color car. So keep that in mind when people are shooting out. You should paint it blue, you should paint it white, you should paint it red, you should paint it, championship white. Some of the other questions about the engine, I kind of addressed it as we're building. We're sticking with the B series. Of course, I do a lot of K swaps. We do a lot of K swaps. I still like the B series. And I like it because it looks good in here. I like it because it sits centered. The K series is great, but of course the valve guard is always jammed way over. You got a transmission and this big gap. It looks like something else should go there, like a suitcase. And again, the K-Series is probably one of the best engines ever made, but the fact that it came with a B-Series and the engine is in good shape, I'm going to refresh it, put all new gaskets in it. I like the B-Series. It's essentially a block guard that goes right from the top to the bottom. But the problem with the block guards back in the day, and again, I've been doing this since the 90s when the block guards came out, and we put them in motors. I tried all different ways. Problem is, when you put the block guard in, they were CNC made. Well, the blocks where the block guard goes in is not a CNC cut. So it's not an exact fit. Some blocks fits better than others, sometimes it's tight, and it has tight and loose spots, which distorts the sleeves. Most people didn't realize this, but the way the Honda blocks were made, they had a steel sleeve like this, and then the aluminum was poured with a gap around it, which is the coolant jackets. And this was poured, it wasn't machined. So every block is a little bit different. So let's say that's the sleeve, and you hammer the block guard down. I think they used to tell you 10 or 15 millimeters. It used to oval the sleeves. We'd had them where we would hammer in the block guards and then measure with a dial bore, and the block would be distorted, which means it's going to lose compression. It could even jam the pistons in areas. It was no good. So what they do is a very clever design. They're going to cut that water jacket to be absolutely uniform, and they have basically a piece that's the exact same size and shape as that. So when it presses in there, the sleeve doesn't move this way, it doesn't change its shape, it's rigid. So it's a really clever design. It's much cheaper than sleeving, and I think those guys have been building 600 and 700 horsepower B motors without a problem. There's a lot of people running it. So we reached out to those guys. We've sent them blocks before. I got a hold of them. We're going to get some pistons and send the block and the pistons. That way they can put the sleeves together, the reinforcement, deck it, bore it, hone it, get the pistons ready. Makes my job easier. So it's sometimes kind of upsetting that you sit a long time sanding on the frame rails and then it gets full of engine and you can't see it. So this area is always the focal point. The shock towers, a little bit of this across here. That's about it. So that's the plan on this. Wait to hear back from the body shop when I can tow it over there, because obviously we can't drive it and I don't want to tow it behind my truck because, you know, no brakes. So I need to get a flatbed over there, and I don't want to send it there without getting a hold of them first. Nobody wants a car dropping at their doorstep going, hey, surprise, there's a car, see you later. Especially when it's got a door over there and the hood's off and the spoiler's on the ground and hey, I got 2 bumpers in the truck. The pistons, I like about 9.5 to 1, anywhere between 9.5 and 10. Super easy to tune. It's super happy on pump gas. It'll make 350, 400 horsepower without a problem. Standard crank, of course. The transmission, let me go look over there. This is the transmission. I believe it's a Type R transmission. Honestly, I forgot. I'm pretty sure it's a LSD. Oh, ouch. Let's have a look. Yep. Stick that light over the other side. Yep. It is a factory LSD. I'm pretty sure it's a Type R transmission. I just forgot. It was honestly years ago when I built this. So I've had a lot of late nights since then. But the transmission's good. That was the other reason I wanted to drain it to see exactly what it looked like. The fluid came out nice and clear, as did everything come out of the motor. Everything is just really held up well. So I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but it is also a testament to the owners of this car by staying on top of the oil changes, stay on top of the transmission, no high-speed shifting, so there's no material in the oil. So everybody has done a good job keeping this motor and transmission in good shape. So this is the motor. I want to show you that. So I really appreciate you following along. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get some ideas from it. Again, it's part of sharing some of the tips. If there's something I do, you like it, I appreciate the comments too. So hopefully you get some ideas from this, and hopefully you enjoy the build. If you do, share, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs down. Give us some feedback, let us know what you want to see, and we'll do our best to make it happen. Thanks.